Hey YouTube, this is Steve, coming at you from sunny South Africa. It's midsummer here in December. I'm on my annual vacation break and I finally have time to give you an update on my innovative Marine SR60 reef tank. This tank has been running for a little over 18 months now, and I think I've finally mastered growing softies, LPS and SPS corals, including several species of Acropora. In this vlog, I'd like to share with you what I've learned through my experience keeping my first reef tank, and also how I run my particular setup. Hands down, what made my tank the success it is lighting and flow, in my opinion. Regarding lighting, I have a Z-Lite Q-Maven ZT6600 LED system, which I'm really happy with, and I also have a small Sky LED spotlight on the left of the tank, giving more light to the left side of the larger acro colony, which started to die off in the shady areas. Now, the problem I had in the beginning was that some of my corals started to get slow tissue necrosis or bleaching after installing the Z-Lite. And after reading many forum posts saying that LEDs are powerful and therefore we need to run them conservatively, I thought my lighting was sufficient for most SPS. This was also the opinion of an LFS maintenance consultant who looked after my tank while I was in Australia for 2 months. And so every time a coral started to get slow tissue necrosis or bleach, I would ask him to turn the lights down even more. It's only when I returned to South Africa that I borrowed a PAR meter from a friend and did extensive measurements of the PAR levels at various parts of the tank with different LED intensity settings. And I found out my PAR levels were way too low. So I ramped them up over a few weeks and my Acroporas basically came to life. Most of the PAR levels are between 250 and 350 PAR, with some easy softies like the Kenya trees getting as low as 45, and areas at the top of the overhanging rock getting above 350 PAR. Before doing this experiment, I lost maybe 25% of the stony corals I put in my tank. Now I have a 100% success rate. Then, briefly regarding flow, I've always opted for high flow, and this is especially important when keeping light-loving SPS corals. In my case, I've got 50 volumes of flow per hour when including the filter pumps. I've got 2 Jabeo pumps at the back pointing towards each other, about a third of the way into the water, and these are synced to either operate singly or together or turn off for a short while. At the moment, I have about 50 species of corals and invertebrates in my 60-gallon tank. Most of these were bought from my local fish store, but about 30 to 40% were frags from other hobbyists, and although they take a while to establish, I'm a big proponent of aquacultured specimens. As you can probably see, I keep fewer species of fish and fairly sparsely, with a shoal of 7 chromis, a coral beauty dwarf angel, a 6-line wrasse and 2 clownfish. That's basically it. I don't agree with keeping fish that swim large distances like yellow tangs in a 60-gallon tank, and I also refuse to cover my tank, so I don't want to risk blennies or gobies, which might jump. Besides, keeping shoals of 1 or 2 species looks far more natural than a haphazard mix of many species, and you'll notice how they all change direction like one organism when the flow changes. By the way, when getting groups of fish of the same species, always pick odd numbers. For some reason, it just looks more natural to have 3 or 5 of the same fish than 4 or 6. Okay, let's talk equipment. Mine is probably a medium tech tank. I can't monitor my tank over the internet, and I don't have a controller other than an STC 1000 temperature controller, which activates my heater or a cooling fan that blows over the tank, which was a DIY project. This simple setup keeps the tank temperature incredibly stable at 25.3 degrees Celsius, plus or minus 0.1 degrees. I should also add that actually turning the temperature down from about 27 degrees may also have saved many of my corals. Another DIY project was my auto top-off, which I made with cheap float switches linked to a relay switch, driving a pump in an RODI bucket under the tank. I've got 3 switches in series to ensure a fail-safe and prevent the pump from drying out if the bucket ever empties, and here I'm posting a link to how I learned how to do it. I don't have a sump. The innovative marine system has a small sump-like compartment at the back of the tank, Here you'll see my filter sock, the first float switch, a media reactor, another float switch as a backup, an innovative marine ghost skimmer, and a filter chamber with a floss and Seachem matrix pebbles underneath that. I converted the media reactor into an effective keto macroalgae reactor and fixed 2 strips of inexpensive sun LED light strips at the back of the tank. The ketomorpha grows incredibly fast and I harvest a good 2 handfuls every week, so I'm very happy with the nutrient export. Then in terms of feeding, I usually feed dry foods such as spirulina or small fish pellets twice daily, occasionally frozen mysis or brine shrimp. For the anemones and elegans coral, I give some fresh cut shrimp once a week, and for the brain corals, they seem to like the Formula 1 marine pellets once or twice a week, usually covering them with a net to prevent the fish from picking at the food. I feed the clams some phytoplankton about once a week, or when I remember, and the SPS corals with zooplankton twice a week. Okay, so what are my parameters? Well, my salinity is 1.025, alkalinity between 7 and 8, calcium around 450, magnesium 1400 ppm, nitrate generally 0 but always below 0.2 ppm, and phosphate not detectable using the Salifert test. I've never had a phosphate reading on that kit, but despite that I do have green hair algae which I occasionally nuke with peroxide, and that's why I also have a sea hair. The water chemistry parameters don't change more than 10%, I would say. I use ordinary Seachem Vibrant Salt Mix, which I prefer to the high alkalinity of Red Sea Coral Pro, and I've also had feedback from Seachem directly that they don't add extra borate to buffer their Vibrant Sea product, which can give false alkalinity readings, so I know I'm safe with alkalinity testing. In terms of calcium and alkalinity dosing, I'm a fan of Seachem's products. I make up a 2-part solution of their Reef Builder alkalinity and Reef Advantage calcium powders delivered with a dosing pump. I also include kalkwasser in my auto top-off water, mostly to keep pH high at around 8.3 to 8.4. Lately I've been dosing some vodka manually despite my low nutrients, since I still have hair algae, but that doesn't seem to have much effect. I don't bother with excessive supplementation either, but I do dose Prime and Trace from Seachem twice a week, or when I'm not dosing plus, I dose Red Sea's Reef Energy. I actually underdose on all these products, and I include them just in case there is some deficiency in any particular trace element. So everyone, that's my story. In short, I'm happy with my coral coloration and their appearance. I must say that anecdotally, the SPS growth rates seem to have been faster at higher pH, but I haven't formally tested that. I'll probably have another update in 6 months or so to show you how the corals have grown out from their pinky finger status and the never-ending adventures I take in this hobby. Happy reefing, everyone.